Chapter 1191, Going Home. Tang Guang's expression looked a bit ugly and he fell into silence for a while. Afterward, he sighed and waved. We all have broken through to the nascent soul stage, but avoid leaking it to the rest in the sect, else it would affect their mentality. The crowd nodded and agreed to his suggestion. Kawako shot a look at Tang Xiu and Gongwan at the square and spoke with a wry smile. Honestly, I'm very envious of you, guys. You can stay in Nine Dragons Island for a long time to practice. I may have power in Japan and can get my hands on many cultivation resources, but 99% of these items must be sent to the sect, while my time for cultivation is also affected. A lot. Tang Guang flung his head to the side directly. He didn't want to stay in Japan. Although he could have some happy time with the bells from this country, it was inferior to his passion for cultivation and becoming stronger. At the very least, he just couldn't be left behind too far away from his younger blood sister, Tang'an. 5 days later, Gongwan finally woke up and ended her cultivation. As she floated up, she found her body suddenly streaked up into midair like a fast arrow, taking her only the blink of an eye to dash over 100 meters in the sky. What happened scared her and nearly made her scream. My power. After she descended to the ground and inspected her whole being, she found that her cultivation level had increased several levels after the short cultivation. There were 10 main stages of cultivation level for Buddhist cultivators, namely, Zen meditation, light initiation, abstinence, paltry fulfillment, spirit channeling, spirit journey, astral projection, great perfection, Atman, 7 transformation. Gongwan's cultivation level was previously at the late stage of abstinence, but after that short cultivation, she actually found herself at the late stage of paltry fulfillment now, the level she had been dreaming to achieve but knew would be a long while, at least a decade, to reach with the aid of a massive number of cultivation resources. And yet, that one short cultivation period was worth a decade of painstaking cultivation. She could also sense enormous spiritual energy coming in from her feet and immediately flew toward the edge of the square. However, she was once again shocked by her own speed as it nearly took her the blink of an eye to appear there. She even nearly hit Kawako, who looked at her with a strange expression. What stage you just broke through? Asked Kawako curiously. Late stage of paltry fulfillment, answered Gongwan with a wry smile. Your cultivation actually increased that much? Kawako was amazed. But it seems you're still unable to control your own strength, though?
Yeah.
I'm still not used to it, said Gongwan smilingly. I had experienced it before too. Kawako smilingly said, but fortunately, Sect Master personally directed me in special training, thus I was finally able to control the surge in my power. You can ask Sect Master on this one. If he's in a good mood and thinks that you're worth training, he'll definitely give you special training. Being able to control your power completely can smoothly pave your way to continue further in your cultivation and make the breakthrough to a higher level much easier. Special training? Asked Gongwan in surprise. Kawako nodded and went on, you might not get it now, but as long as you can win Sect Master's recognition and he finally gives you special training, you'll know how beneficial it is for you that time. Mo Au appeared next to the two females and looked indifferently at Gongwan as he interjected without being salty. Who doesn't want to get the special training from the sovereign in the entire sect? Let me tell you something. You're not even an inner disciple of the Tang sect. Do you think you have the qualifications to have Sect Master give you special training? My advice for you is that, if you want to get it, render great merits and contributions to the sect first and become a disciple. Gongwan wasn't angry but lowered her posture and asked, how many merits do I need to contribute so I can be qualified to join as an outer junior, Elder Mo? You can ask Sect Master himself if you want to know that, answered Mo apathetically. The 7th day. Dusk had come to cover the day when Tang Xiu slowly woke up from his cultivation. He shouted a long cry that slightly shook the entire island and his figure instantly appeared in midair. A strand of qi jetted out from him when he waved, causing even Blackface Buddha and Jade Buddha's team on the liner on the coastline to suddenly tense up as the flow of chi came. But at the moment they wanted to fight it back, a tranquil voice passed into their ears. All masters have long been waiting here. Please don't fight it back. I'm Tang Xiu. Suddenly, that strand of chi acted like a rope that instantly bound the 14 eminent monks and brought them to the square. The moment Tang Xiu descended on the ground, the array that covered the entire island was destroyed. Blackface Buddha was surprised and amazed when he observed Tang Xiu for a while. He suddenly joined his palms and respectfully said, Amitabha, Sect Master Tang's cultivation has risen. Congratulations. The spiritual vein here is about to be destroyed, so I just took the chance to exploit it and have a breakthrough. That certainly is not a matter of my ability. However, Master's aura is much stronger now, you should have broken through as well, right? We found a lot of useful things in the Jing camp, some of which are beneficial to our cultivation, said Blackface Buddha smilingly. That's the reason I can smoothly go further. Anyhow, did Sect Master Tang fully exterminate all the remnants of Joyous Palace here? It was my men who killed the remaining experts of Joyous Palace here. Tang Xiu nodded and said, but whether there's still more of them in the outside world, I have no idea. But please rest assured. I'll assign some of my men to stay here later to investigate and chase them. No matter how many of those Joyous Palace's members or those genetic warriors remain, they will die. If so, then we'll stay here too, said Blackface Buddha without hesitation. I don't suggest it, Master. Tang Xiu shook his head. Even if some enemies are still barely surviving here, they're just small fries and won't be able to do anything significant. I think it's best for all Master to return to China with me. There won't be any problem cropping up with my subordinate taking over the issues here. Blackface Buddha and Jade Buddha looked hesitant for a while. But they trusted Tang Xiu, so they finally nodded without a word. Besides, they had been far away from modern society, which made them feel that they had become incompatible and estranged with it. Thus, they were against staying much longer. Tang Xiu shot a look at Gong Wan and Yuji and calmly spoke to them, you both made your choice, so you're to stay with Kawako for the time being. I'm giving you a chance to join the inner court of Tang Sect. You can join the Tang Sect's inner court as long as you can completely remove the remnants of the Joyous Palace and Jin camp with Kawako, and then finally establish the biggest and most powerful force in Japan. You can then enjoy all the treatments and welfare as other inner disciples. Tang'an suddenly appeared and she looked at Tang Xiu. Grand Master, you're... Tang Xiu raised his hand to interrupt her. He knew that she hadn't given up on that idea. He wasn't one to force his will on others against their wishes, nor did he ever want to harm others for his own benefits, so, with a deep voice, he reproved her, I already warned you to throw away that idea last time, and you are to return to the sect, and I forbid you to mention that crap to your master. Tang'an fell into silence. She could feel the unbending stubbornness and Tang Xiu's persistence on this issue. However, she was truly unwilling. Such a big chance obviously presented itself before their eyes that could make her Grandmaster Tang Xiu become stronger, yet the man himself ignored it? That was simply a huge letdown. The evening of the next day, Tang Xiu and the 14 Buddhist sex experts arrived in Jingmen Island. He then assigned some members of Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall's guards to bring back the dead bodies of 4 eminent monks to the Shaoshi Mountain with the monks. Grand Master Tang'an, in her usual black attire and bronze mask, came and appeared beside Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu turned to her and asked, what is it? Are there powerful enemies in Star City, so we're heading there now? Asked Tang'an. Nope. Tang Xiu shook his head. There's no such powerful enemy. Taking you to Star City is just because I have to deal with some business affairs of the magnificent Tang Corporation. It's something like some major move in our business. Tang'an was stunned and hesitantly asked again, I literally know nothing about business stuff, Grand Master. Why are you taking me with you? The rest are staying in Japan and I think I can do much better there. A smile appeared on Tang Xiu's handsome face. Do you think I have no idea what has been churning in your head? I can tell from your face that you haven't given up that idea even though I've already warned you repeatedly. That's why taking you with me is the best choice. Tang An's lips squirmed a few times and she suddenly stomped her feet angrily and vanished in a flash. Tang Xiu just smiled and shook his head in response. Then, he shifted to the manager of Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ who sent him the car keys. He immediately drilled into the driver's seat and drove fast to the port. Speeding along the road at night would make the trip smoother as taking a plane would be quite convenient with Tang An always behind him, and staying invisible. Hage Port. It was the largest port in Jingmen Island. After driving the BMW X5 into a very large cargo ship and finding a good spot to park, Tang Xiu opened the car's door and headed to the deck to enjoy the sight of the boundless ocean. Grand Master, your cell phone. Tang An's voice suddenly penetrated his ear. Tang Xiu was stunned and took out his cell phone from the interspatial ring, and was greeted with the constant ringing of the incoming text notifications. He looked at the screen and saw tens of missed calls, many of which were from an unfamiliar number. Quickly after, he learned from the texts sent by that unfamiliar number that the number belonged to someone named Li Kai. Tang Xiu remembered this girl who was even willing to let go of all her family fortunes in order to cure her mother. After pondering for a moment, he decided to call her back. He dialed her number and lightly spoke after it connected. Tang Xiu speaking here, are you Li Kai? Li Kai's surprised voice replied from the phone, I can finally get in touch with you, Divine Dr. Tang. I'd like to inform you that my mom is getting much better and the method you taught me is really effective. I've been wanting to thank you, so that's why I keep calling you since I want to thank you in person. Thank me in person? It's not necessary, I think, replied Tang Xiu. Just saying it on the phone is enough for me. Also, the reason why I called you back is that I want to ask you something. How long do you think your mother can live? Li Kai fell into silence for a long while. The sound of her teeth being grounded was then heard as she replied, she can at least live on for 20 years more. I'm sure of it. Tang Xiu could only sigh inwardly and wryly smiled. You are still young. What about you, then? Chapter 1192, Bumping into Bullies on the Trip. Li Kai's tone was particularly serious as she continued, Divine Dr. Tang. Mom is the closest person in my life and I'll go to all lengths if it means she can live a day longer. Thanks to your medicine, pills and the cultivation art you taught me, I believe I can definitely live to the moment my mom closes her eyes. You have made up your mind, so I will no longer speak about this, said Tang Xiu. But for thanking me, you just said it and it's all fine with me. Wait. Her voice was a bit urgent and anxious as she went on, where are you now, Divine Dr. Tang? I want to see you. Tang Xiu frowned and asked, is there something else you need? There's an issue, quite important, replied Li Kai. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and slowly said, I'm afraid you'll have to wait for quite a while. There's something I need to handle in Star City, so I'm now on the way there. If it's really urgent, you can come to Star City yourself. If you're not in a hurry, wait until I'm done tending the business in Star City and return to Shanghai. That's right, aren't you and your mother still staying in Shanghai?
Yeah.
We're still here along with brother Shaokuan, said Li Kai. All right, I'll immediately head over to Star City, Divine Dr. Tang. We'll speak more after we meet there. No need to rush. I think it would be tomorrow afternoon when I arrive in Star City, said Tang Xiu. Then I'll just wait for you there. After the call ended, a subtle light glittered in Tang Xiu's eyes. Through the short exchange just now, he realized that Li Kai gave him a good impression and he liked this girl. It wasn't a sentiment from a man to a woman, but rather an admiration towards her. She could lay off her life and sacrifice herself for her mother, a price too big to pay, yet she still chose it. He didn't dare say that there was no one left in today's society who could do the same, but the number was few and far between nowadays. We got annoying troubles approaching, Grand Master. Tang An's voice suddenly passed into his ear. Tang Xiu furrowed his brows, turning his head and glancing around as he saw tens of burly men approaching from the cabin, one of whom was an ugly and ferocious-looking big man who grabbed the clothes of a thin man and nearly dragged him over. All of you, listen to me. The safety fee is 20 yuan for each person. Don't blame these brothers for not paying. The big man threw the thin man on the deck and trampled on him when he spoke. Tang Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and suddenly heard two men in leather attire about 7+ meters away speak. It's these assholes again. They're too blatant in extorting everyone just because they got the support from the Ouyang family for this bullshit security fee, for their protection service here. We got no other choice, mate. Who doesn't know the background of the Ouyangs in Jingmen Island? Nearly all the visitors coming crossing the sea by boat have been extorted by them. Many of them tried to call the cops, but do you know how they ended up? Those cops just turned a deaf ear knowing that these bastards are the Ouyang's goons. Just be patient. We got no choice. Fortunately, the money they asked is just trivial. Count it as buying them 2 packs of cigarettes. Alas, no other choice, huh? Tang Xiu's brows slightly wrinkled after hearing the conversation of the duo. He then took out a cell phone from his pocket and dialed Ouyang Lulu's number. After some time, the mumbling, sleepy voice of Ouyang Lulu came from the phone. Who is this disturbing my dreams late at night? Tang Xiu couldn't help but chuckle and said, It's me, Lulu. The instant after, she cried out with a happily surprised voice, Are you coming back to Shanghai, honey? Where are you now? I'll get up and come for you right away. I'm not in Shanghai at the moment. I just arrived at the port of Jingmen Island and am about to return to Star City. There's some business I need to tend to first over there. Well, I called you because there's something I need to ask, said Tang Xiu with a smile. What is it? Ouyang Lulu sounded a bit disappointed but she still inquired. I took a liner to Guangyang from Jingmen Island and there's this bunch of men extorting money from the passengers, shouting that it's a protection fee. But the thing is, they are using your family's name to justify it. Do you happen to know about this matter? Got no idea about that, honest. Ouyang Lulu sounded puzzled. I often took a liner to Guangyang province before but never bumped into anyone extorting money on the ship, though. Care to make some calls to ask about it, said Tang Xiu. These people got some bad attitude and I think the wealthy Ouyang family shouldn't be bothered to care about such money, right? I'm gonna call Big Brother right away to ask about this matter, dear. Ouyang Lulu quickly replied, If the one responsible is from the Ouyang family, I'll definitely give them a hard lesson. If not, Big Brother will definitely be mad since these guys are just using the Ouyang's name to run amok. Referring to the Ouyang family as them? Wait, Lulu. Aren't you a member of the Ouyangs? Asked Tang Xiu with a strange tone. Ouyang Lulu was silent for a moment. Then, a lit gunpowder barrel-like shout came, Tang Xiu bastard. You're a jerk. Let me tell you. I'm not a member of the Ouyangs, not before and not now. I'm a member of the Tangs and your wife. Even if you're a monkey, I'll still follow you all over the mountain since I'm married to you. You got that? Cough, cough. Tang Xiu dryly smiled and replied, Okay, chill down. You're a member of the Tangs. Are we good now? Humph. Ouyang Lulu snorted and hung up. But a few minutes later, she called back and Tang Xiu picked up her call as he heard her saying, I've asked about it clearly, dear. Brother knows about the security fee collection on the liner. One of his men is doing it since he once saved my brother. That's why he never scrutinizes it and just turns a blind eye even though he knows about it. Tell your brother to point out another means for his benefactor and just don't let this bunch of ruffians and hooligans Make such spectacles on the liner in the future, said Tang Xiu. They Ouyang's are a wealthy big family and many eyes are staring at you, waiting for a chance to deal with you. In case someone else makes a case over this matter, no matter how insignificant it may be for the wealthy and powerful Ouyang's, it will still be a bit troublesome for you, regardless. I understand, said Ouyang Lulu with a nod. After Tang Su hung up, the 10 or so burly men had come to him and their leader stretched his hand and spoke with a cold face. Hand over the fee. Tang Xiu took out 20 yuan from his pocket and gave it to him, saying, today will be the last time for you to collect money here. I'm giving you the money as a sign that this the last time you do this. Keep in mind to distance yourselves from doing illegal things later, else even the Ouyang's won't be able to save your asses. The man was stunned and instantly frowned. He sized up Tang Xiu and asked, who are you? You dare spit out such bullshit? Bullshit? I don't speak bullshit. Tang Xiu shook his head. Your boss did save Ouyang Lei's life, so you can use the Ouyang's name to commit outrages. Have you ever thought what you are doing will discredit the Ouyang's themselves? Shit, who the F***K are you? You already know that the Ouyang's are powerful, who can convict us even if we commit crimes, huh? Who can take on the Ouyang's? Who? A burly man behind the man suddenly rose the steel pipe in his hand. Pa! A loud slap was heard and the big man was immediately sent flying. Since he was standing at the edge of the deck, the slap directly sent him plunging into the sea. The leader and the tens of other big men were dumbfounded. They did hear that distinct loud slap, but they also witnessed that this young man before them just stood still. He didn't even move his fingers. Who just did the slap, then? It wouldn't be a ghost coming out late at night, right? Tang Xiu's expression was unperturbed and he lightly spoke. People said that those who commit bad deeds will face doom one day. The society is like a melting pot with people from all walks of life blending into it. Some are of the upper class and smart enough to make money with their brains and abilities, whereas some others are just off the track, becoming bullies and acting rampant just because they have powerful backing. Such people may end up fine if they are only the average people, but they can expect big troubles if they bump into some influential people. What I said is right, isn't it? The leader ordered some of the men to run to the bridge to stop the ship for the rescue. The man himself didn't leave and observed Tang Xiu's calm expression. He tightly squeezed the money in his hand and asked again, who exactly are you? Are you really not afraid of the Ouyang's? I may be a bit worried if it was another family. But I'm not afraid of the Ouyang's since I have the backing from one of them, said Tang Xiu smilingly. Who is your backer in the Ouyang house? The man frowned and asked. Tang Xiu seemed to ponder for a moment and, while pointing at his nose, he answered, my woman, Ouyang Lulu. Ouyang Lulu? She's your woman? The man stared blankly before his expression enormously changed. His body suddenly trembled and paced back several steps, looking surprised and alarmed as he cried out, you are you, Boss Tang? Tang Xiu raised his hand to stroke his face with a strange smile.
Ah.
How fast time flies and changes things. It feels like eons since nobody knows me before I appeared in the public. Honestly speaking, being famous is really tiresome as only staying low profile can give me some relaxed time. Bam. The man directly knelt in front of Tang Xiu and knocked his head thrice with a face uglier than crying, shudderingly saying, be boss. Tang, we brothers have eyes but failed to see an important person like you and even dared to demand money from you. Please forgive us with your magnanimity on the account of your in-law's face. I promise I'll never extort protection money ever again later. Ring, ring, ring. Just as his voice faded away, the ringtone of his mobile phone rapidly rang. The man looked up at Tang Xiu. Hurry up and answer the call. Tang Xiu nodded. The man was as though receiving a pardon as he got up from the deck's floor. After taking out his cell phone and seeing the screen, it turned out to be a call from his boss. He immediately pressed the answer button and spoke carefully. Are you looking for me, boss? I'm on the liner now, but I'll be back right away after we've arrived in Guangyang. You're on the liner already, a man's voice came from the phone. Chapter 1193, Murky Situations. The man in front of Tang Xiu nodded unctuously while holding the phone next to his ear. We're indeed on the liner already, boss. For you to call us now, do you have any instructions for us? Stop collecting protection fee and take all the boys to Guangyang. Don't do anything rash and come back immediately to my place. We are not to collect protection money on the liner anymore starting today. I just got a call from Brother Lei, the man replied from the phone. Brother Lei? As in? Ouyang Lei? The man instantly understood. It must be that Tang Xiu made a phone call to Ouyang Lei in advance, as such coincidence as Ouyang Lei calling his boss at this time was otherwise unlikely. I understand, boss. I just promised Boss Tang that I won't be collecting protection money anymore later, replied the man bitterly with shivering lips. Boss Tang? Which Boss Tang are you talking about? The man's tone on the phone was full of curiosity. It's Divine Dr. Tang, Miss Ouyang's man? Come again. A scream was heard from the phone. After a short while, the man hurriedly said, You haven't offended Boss Tang, have you? If you have, do apologize to him at once. You must calm his anger even if you must kneel and beg for his mercy. Who did say some rude things to Boss Tang, but I'm not sure what happened, he got thrown into the sea by something. But I myself have acted humble to Boss Tang, boss, said the man bitterly. All right, do keep in mind to serve him well like you're his servant. Try as best as you can to satisfy any of his requests. Also, send him my regards too. The man put the phone in his pocket after the call ended. He then looked at Tang Xiu and cautiously said, Boss Tang, my boss just said that we are to never use the Ouyang's name to collect protection money on the liner anymore from now on. Also, I'd like to thank your magnanimity and please feel free to tell me if there's anything you need. I'll do anything to accomplish it for you. I'm fine by myself. You can go back. Tang Xiu waved. Bam. Someone heavily slammed on the deck's floor with his whole body wet and particularly shivering. His face, in particular, was flushed red with a visible print of a palm, which was obviously from the slap that hit him before. The man's pupils kept contracting at this time. He would have definitely thought that it was some ghost or spirit who just hit his underling, if it wasn't for these many people being around. Nobody knew who had slapped his underling and sent him flying into the sea. And yet, the man inexplicably flew back on the deck. That was the most bizarre incident he had ever seen in life. However, he was also a smart man and secretly glanced at Tang Xiu. Seeing his indifference, he conjectured that it must be related to Tang Xiu, so he bade farewell unctuously to him, then grabbed his underling and ran towards the cabin. A short interlude of this trivial episode concluded quickly just like its arrival. However, the hundreds of people around on the deck now looked at Tang Xiu in a completely different light. Many of them felt that he looked familiar, but none could recall his true identity. Therefore, nobody came to greet him even though they looked at him with admiration. Time fleeted by. It was at 2:30 a.m. when the liner finally docked at the port of Guangyang. The tens of burly men who collected the protection money before lined up to escort Tang Xiu to the shore with reverential attitudes. Only after Tang Xiu finally drove his car and left did they eventually relax secretly. As night painted the sky dark, the BMW X5 was stopped in front of the gate of the South Gate town in Star City. A security guard on duty there quickly greeted him while holding an electric baton. The guard looked at Tang Xiu on the driver's seat, giving a salute and respectfully saying, "Are you looking for someone or do you live here, sir?" The detector installed at the gate didn't seem to have registered your car. "I own a house here, but this car is someone else's." Tang Shou smiled at him and explained, please register it since it's likely I'm staying here for some time and will use this car for a while. Which villa do you live in? Asked the security hurriedly. As Tang was about to answer him, another security guard rushed over from the distance and spoke to Tang Shou with a reverential face, Mr. Tang? Is it really you? I remember you. You're Xiao Hu, right? Tang Shou replied with a smile. Xiao Hu quickly smiled and replied,
Yeah.
That's right. I'm Xiao Hu. Our manager, Ms. Long, mentioned about you a few days ago, Mr. Tang. She said you haven't returned for some time. You mean, Long Shueyao? Asked Tang Shou.
Yeah.
Manager Long Shueyao. Xiao Hu confirmed. Unfortunately, she just left and said that she's going to the hospital. Else she would be excited to know that you've returned. Tang Shou was slightly stunned and asked him, Long Shueyao went to the hospital. What happened? Xiao Hu hesitantly replied, I have no idea about the details, but I heard that Chief Long was injured and is hospitalized. She should be heading there to see him. Tang Shou jolted inwardly and pushed the car's door, asking, which Chief Long? Long Hanwen or Long Zhengyu? It's young Master Long Zhengyu, answered Xiao Hu quickly. Tang Shou was reticent for a moment and then took out his mobile phone to dial Long Zhengyu's number. After a few seconds, his call was connected and a tired voice greeted him. Tang Shou? It's Long Hanwen here. A bad feeling suddenly appeared in Tang Shou's mind and he hurriedly asked, Uncle Long, I just heard Long Zhengyu got injured. Is it true? What happened and why is his phone with you? You're quick to hear the news. I didn't expect that you would hear the incident happened in the morning right at this evening, said Long Hanwen with a wry smile. Zhengyu is indeed injured, and it's quite serious too. He has been in a coma in the ICU since this morning and I don't know when he'll wake up. What exactly happened? Asked Tang Shou in a deep voice. The situation in Star City is now rather chaotic with crooks and good people mixed together, said Long Hanwen helplessly. Let alone the average people, even the authorities, both the first and the second person here kind of getting suffocated and want to control the situation. But the pestilential atmosphere kind of binds their hands to act. Alas. Tang Shou was silent for a moment and then asked, Is this related to my magnificent Tang Corporation? That's right. The people who injured Zhengyu are from the Harbo Group from the US. Long Hanwen said, That guy is really rampant. I sent my men to catch him, but that company sent someone to contact some officials and the authorities and I've been under pressure from them since. A cold light flashed in Tang Shou's eyes and asked again, Which hospital is Zhengyu hospitalized in? I just returned to Star City, so I'll rush over. Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, said Long Hanwen. Tang Shou hung up and bade farewell to the security guard, Xiao Hu. Then, he sat back on the car and sped up toward Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. At the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. In the spacious and brightly lit president's office, Li Longji was holding a cup of hot tea and comfortably leaned against his chair with a train of thoughts in his mind. Ever since Tang Shou brought a great reputation to his hospital, he had aggressively recruited domestic and foreign medical experts alike, purchased a large number of the latest medical equipment, as well as personally visited senior Chinese medicine practitioners to invite them to work at the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. He even invited a retired Chinese medicine expert who worked for the hospital before to be an expert consultant of Chinese medicine here. As of now, the scale of the hospital had simply leaped up several levels. Even its area had been doubled and firmly positioned itself right behind the Star City First Public Hospital. However, the current president of the hospital, Li Longji, who should have retired, was jointly commended by the municipal and provincial health bureau that made an exception to make him stay in the position as the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Pity that Tang Shou isn't here, though. If he was still here, it's very likely that even the provincial First Public Hospital wouldn't be able to rival the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. there's also that Dai Xingyue girl. She unexpectedly left the hospital for a trip and will only come back after a while. The old man somewhat complained about the situation inwardly. But the grateful feeling he had toward these two people was more evident. He realized that the hospital could progress and thrive day by day due to the merits of this pair of master and disciple. But the biggest credit he could give to was to the charity fund project of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital itself. It was because the charity fund project had always been carried out in a fair and transparent manner, where all the flow of funds would be announced in time and appeared on the LED display installed on the hospital square, to be clearly seen by the public. Further, be it every patient, social workers, or the public, they also had the right to check the entire financial statement of the fund in the hospital consultation lobby. It was that practice that made them receive wide acclaim from society. Therefore, the hospital, many philanthropists and even the foundation in the country directed their donations to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Some were anonymous and some others became famous because of it. Hence, the hospital now received over 10 billion yuan from donations annually, and over 90% of the 10 billion funds were used to subsidize patients from the poor. Li Longji even established an investigation team in order to ensure that the patient came from a poor household, and every patient who applied for a charity fund would receive a corresponding investigation. It's time to go home and eat. He then put the teacup which had turned cold on the desk, relaxedly stretched out and slightly moved his lower body. Then, he got up and grabbed his coat on the hanger. Ring, ring, ring. His phone rang when he put on his coat. He just casually took it out since many related households would find him due to his identity. Some people who were not familiar with him even used every means to find his number in order to climb up the relationship and make their sick family be well taken care of in the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. It was a society governed by favors and face, to begin with. Li Longji himself was not a pedantic person either. He would act to take care of some people better, but he never crossed his bottom line. But when he saw the caller name on the screen, he stiffened with contracted pupils immediately as an excited expression covered his whole face. He directly pressed the answer button and rapidly shot a question. Tang Xiu? You're Tang Xiu, right? It is me, President Li, confirmed Tang Xiu. I'm now on the way to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. I'd like to meet you there if you're still in the hospital. Chapter 1194, Long Zhengyu's Tragic Condition. You didn't come here for a long time, brat. I thought you forgot about me already. Li Longji excitedly exclaimed. I've been wishing for a long time, hoping you'll come back to render medical service at our Star City Medical Hospital again. Let's save the talk about the medical practice for later, President Li. Tang Xiu said, there's something I need to ask you. The old man's complexion stagnated and his tone immediately turned serious. Speak. Long Zhengyu is said to be injured and is now being treated in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, isn't he? What is his current condition? Is it serious? Very. Li Longji wryly smiled and went on. I was the one who examined him. 3 broken ribs and spleen severely injured, which caused a slight internal hemorrhage. His brain and nerves suffered from the external heavy blow and he hasn't yet recovered from the coma until now. All in all, he hasn't passed the dangerous period yet. But the most unfortunate thing is about his genital. Unless there are special means, I'm afraid he won't be a complete man anymore in this life. What? Tang Xiu exclaimed. His genital is damaged and he won't be a complete man anymore? Disbelief overflowed in Tang Xiu's eyes along with killing intent birthed in his heart. Long Zhengyu was among the first friends he made after returning to Earth. He wouldn't have developed so fast in recent years if it wasn't for him, and neither would he have the funds to purchase cultivation resources at the early period of development. Afterward, they kept in contact continuously. Although he knew that Long Zhengyu treated him with sincerity and became his loyal friend due to his identity, he also regarded him as a good friend regardless. And now, he had been severely injured by some foreign tycoon group invited by his magnificent Tang Corp. I've learned about the situation, President Lee. I estimate I'll be arriving at the hospital in about half an hour. We'll talk again later if you're not in the hospital now, said Tang Xiu after taking a deep breath. Just come over here. I'm still at the hospital, said Li Longji quickly. Half an hour later, when Tang Xiu appeared in the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital and stopped his car in the parking lot, he saw Li Longji approach him fast along with 4 middle-aged doctors in white coats. Tang Xiu. Li Longji paced forward and intimately held and shook Tang Xiu's hands. Tang Xiu nodded in response and said, "Can we head straight to Long Zhengyu, President Li? I want to have a look at his condition. I'll do my best to treat him if the medicine I have can be used, else the disability will greatly affect his life forever. It might even ruin him. He's in the ICU at the moment. I'll escort you there myself." Li Longji nodded and said, "Also, let me introduce you to these men on the way there. The 4 of them are expert doctors in the hospital and separately have expertise in the brain, internal medicine, neurology, and urology fields. They are also the doctors in charge of Long Zhengyu's treatment." Tang Xiu nodded to the 4 men and said, "I haven't been to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital for a long time. It never came to me that the hospital has changed a lot, much better than before, with more patients as well. Such a scale maybe has surpassed the first public hospital of Star City, hasn't it? It was you who granted the chance for it to happen." Li Longji smilingly said, "The present Star City Chinese Medical Hospital would have stagnated in its previous state if it wasn't for you." After a simple and brief introduction, Li Longji took Tang Xiu to the newly built inpatient building where the ICU room was located. Tang Xiu didn't put on a sterile suit and just went directly inside. He looked Long Zhengyu, who now wore an oxygen mask with some catheters inserted into his body. Then, he reached out to take his wrist and check his pulse. A few minutes after, he reached out to pull out all the catheters on Long Zhengyu's body, including the oxygen mask. After this, he took out a holy healing pill from the interspatial ring and stuffed it into his mouth. At the same time, he also injected his primal chaos energy into his system. After helping him digest the holy healing pill, Tang Xiu looked at the 5 people in sterile clothes and said in a deep voice, "President Li, I'll take over Long Zhengyu's treatment and personally treat him. The hospital only needs to arrange the best care well." "Are you confident you can cure him?" asked Li Longji hurriedly asked. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and shook his head, slowly saying, "I can treat his injuries, but I am helpless with his brain damage unless I can find a miraculous spiritual herb." "What herb is it?" asked Li Longji. "An herb called conscience flower," said Tang Xiu. Li Longji was dumbfounded, whereas the other 4 furrowing their brows. They quickly exchanged glances and shook their heads to express that none of them had ever heard of this spiritual herb. Tang Xiu forced a smile and said, "In actuality, I have no idea where to find this spiritual herb either, as it's really too rare. It usually only grows in volcanic craters with frequent eruptions." "Let's drop it first. I'll think about some other solutions again and try my best to make him recover as before. I believe you can do it given your superb medical expertise." Li Longji nodded. Tang Xiu no longer spoke and gave hints to the 5 people to leave first. Then, he began to regulate and rejuvenate Long Zhengyu's bodily functions and used his primal chaos energy to nourish his damaged body. After half an hour, he came out of the ICU room and saw more than 10 people waiting outside. Aside from Li Longji's group of 5, there were also the Long family, as well as Kong Xia and Andy. "Tang Xiu, Zhengyu, how is he now?" Long Hanwen grabbed his hand with anticipation on his face. "I've treated his flesh injuries, Uncle Long. The injuries won't be a problem anymore." Tang Xiu comforted him. "But I haven't yet been able to figure out how to treat his nerves and brain damage. It's possible that he will soon wake up without any sequelae, but there is also a chance he will be in a coma for a long time due to the damage to his brain and nerves. But please rest assured. I'll find a way to wake him up as soon as possible. After hearing his explanation, Long Hanwon asked again cautiously, if he wakes up, can he still marry and have children in the future? That won't be a problem. Tang Xiu smiled and went on. I'll make sure he'll be no different from a normal man. Long Hanwon's tense and anxiousness finally dissipated a lot and a smile appeared on his square old face. He sighed. Jang Yu having a friend like you is truly the greatest blessing in his life. I believe you'll be able to wake him up given your outstanding medical expertise. He's my friend, giving my best to treat him is just natural. Tang Xiu smiled and said, Uncle Long, President Li will arrange the hospital's experts and doctors to tend to Jang Yu's treatment and check his condition at all times. There's no need for you and the others to stay here. Please go back home first. Long Hanwon gave it a thought and nodded. All right, we'll go back first. But do call me right away if something happens. I'm staying. Long Shuayao suddenly interjected. Besides, there's something I need to consult with Tang Xiu. Long Hanwon stared dully for a moment before a strange expression appeared on his face. He then shot a look at Tang Xiu and suddenly said with a smile, being occupied is great. Really great. Shuayao, keep Tang Xiu a company well and do your best to satisfy his request, whatever it is. Everyone present was all people with smart heads and each of them let out a meaningful smile upon hearing Long Hanwon's remark. However, when Andy squeezed out and quickly came to Tang Xiu's side and grabbed his hand, the smile on the faces of Long Hanwon and everyone else instantly froze. Tang Xiu could only force a wry smile inwardly. After sending off Long Hanwon's group and letting Li Longji and the hospital's team of doctors tend to their duties, he turned to Long Shuayao and asked, what's exactly the issue that made you look for me, though? A friend of mine will have a wedding the day after tomorrow, can you go with me to her wedding ceremony? Asked Long Shuayao with hesitation. You want me to accompany you to your friend's wedding? Tang Xiu was confused. Aren't you looking at the wrong person? You should ask your boyfriend to go with you on such an occasion. I don't have a boyfriend. Long Shuayao forced a wry smile. Besides, it's not what you think it is. This friend of mine is a bit special. If you come with me, you might be able to cure her illness. Why didn't she visit the doctor and come to the hospital, though, said Tang Xiu. Long Shuayao glanced at Kong Xia and Andy, saying, her situation is very complicated and I just can't explain it to you now. You just need to tell me whether you can accompany me or not. I promise that it won't take your time for long, just a few hours. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and said, I can't promise you on that for the time being since Long Zhengyu is severely injured. My magnificent Tang Corporation is related to this incident and can't escape from the responsibility, so I must completely deal and solve this problem. All right, wait for my reply tomorrow night. I promise I'll go with you if my schedule allows me to squeeze some time for the day after tomorrow. Is that okay with you? All right. Long Shuayao knew and understood Tang Xiu's situation, so she nodded said, then I'll be waiting for a reply tomorrow night. See you again later. Tang Xiu watched her back until she disappeared at the corner of the front corridor. Then, he retracted back his vision and asked with furrowed brows, Kong Xia, what exactly is the situation pertaining to those foreign companies here? Kong Xia forced a smile and said, the announcement we made that we're searching distributors for our products immediately made tons of business people all over the world to flood over here. We only have a few products, but the number of companies that have come here is already over 200. 100 of which are large companies coming only for God's nectar. But most importantly, all of them are offering checks while stating that they would still aim to strike the deal to cooperate even if the magnificent Tang Corporation put for more excessive demands. It feels to me that we're just some golden eggs laying hen in the eyes of those world-class major companies. Tang Xiu sighed. But it's also evident that those people think that whoever can board the ship that is our company will have lots of banknotes flying into their pockets later. But in any case, kick out that foreign company of the list, the one that is responsible for Long Zhengyu's injuries. It has been excluded, said Kong Xia. Tang Xiu nodded in response and went on, one other thing, sort out the portfolio of those companies and send them to me later. We'll continue this discussion after I read them. There was, however, something else he didn't state, which was the fact that many world-class major companies were secretly under control by cultivators. It was a must to avoid any business dealings with those who were under his enemies, else it would have a huge impact on the business once they had some clashes in the future. Chapter 1195, Devising Plan and Methods. At South Gate Town. After Tang Xiu returned with Kong Xia and Andy, the three of them went into the study and focused their attention on studying the documents Kong Xia had prepared in advance. Tang Xiu may be wealthy, but he still had to plan further for the future, as money itself was the minimum foundation one must have to develop further. As the clock hit 2 in the morning, the trio ended their discussion. A round of screening had been done, but there were still many companies' portfolios remaining, many of which hadn't had its details investigated yet. How about sending our men to investigate them first, boss? Or, do you want to hire some famous international private investigator firms? The easygoing and extroverted Andy looked somewhat different tonight as she rarely spoke except for expressing her ideas. I don't trust those international private investigator firms. There's a chance those survey companies are deeply related to some major companies. Chance is that the big boss behind them is the same person. I'll send our own people to investigate these companies, said Tang Xiu. But I'm afraid we won't have enough time if you send our own people for the investigation, though. Kong Xia interjected. Before I went to Japan, I might still be worried about the lack of funds we might face in the later period, but the concern is all gone now, said Tang Xiu smilingly. Besides, our HQ and industrial park in Shanghai haven't been finished yet, so there's no way we can go fully operational in the next year, meaning that the output of our various products is still not much as well. Therefore, we're gonna play a time-delaying card for now. Even if we do strike the deals with some of these foreign companies, the delivery date of the products will be set to a year later. Did you get some great fortune from the campaign in Japan, by chance? Asked Kong Xia curiously. Tang Xiu thought for a moment before he took a set of jewelry from the interspatial ring and gave it to Kong Xia. You can say the harvest is just great. I'm sure anyone who sees the wealth I've obtained will be shocked. Well, take this set of jewelry. It's for you. Kong Xia's eyes lit up. She never liked wearing precious jewelry at ordinary times, but the one before her eyes really attracted her. The crown inlaid with jewels and a necklace decorated with emeralds, with blue diamonds on a set of earrings, paired with a couple of bracelets made of jade. Although Kong Xia had no idea the valuation of jadeite and diamonds, she was perfectly sure that this set of jewelry would definitely be very valuable and roughly estimated that its value would definitely not be lower than 10 figures. Boss. A faint voice with a bit of hesitation came from Andy. Tang Xiu turned to her and found that she was looking at the set of jewelry in Kong Xia's hand with a yearning face. Then, he immediately smiled and spoke to her. What is it? You seem to not be in a good mood all night. But relax, you'll have yours too. Andy looked stiffened and hesitated for a long while. Then, she stutteringly spoke. I want you to prescribe medicine for me, but I'm afraid you'll be angry. Prescribing medicine for you? Tang Xiu was stunned, whereas Kong Xia wore a strange expression. Andy took a deep breath and pulled out her courage to continue. I like you, boss. I've never seen a man better than you. Happiness fills me up every time I see you, and I'm anxious and restless if I can't see you for a long time. I know my status isn't high enough to be worthy of you, but I think I have the right to pursue my own happiness. Chief has already become your woman, so take me in too. Cough, cough. Tang Xiu coughed twice and took out another set of jewelry directly from the interspatial ring. After handing it to Andy, he said, "You also know that I have some women already. Too many, even. Andy, you're no less beautiful than Kongxia and just a different type of beauty. That's why I think you should pursue your own happiness and find a man who is dedicated to you only." Andy stubbornly shook her head. "But Chief can find her happiness in you, so can I." Tang Xiu turned to Kongxia and said, "You help her to be sensible and clear her mind." Having said that, he strode out of the study and then realized that Kongxia wouldn't sleep with him tonight, so he took a shower and went straight to bed after returning to his bedroom. Early the next morning, the first wisp of sunshine had just risen from the east when Tang Xiu woke up. Instead of getting straight to practice after getting up, he just slowly sat on the bed and picked the mobile phone on the bedside table, dialed Hao Lei's cell number and spoke, "Come to Star City to see me as fast as possible. Also, release a press conference in the name of Grand Fortune Jewelry that the company will hold a large-scale auction in Shanghai on December 1st. Also, invite jewelry collectors from all over the world and local folks alike who love antiques and curios. But keep in mind to make the announcement as bombastic and loud as possible. Additionally, announce to the outside world that all the guests are required to have at least the minimum of 9 figures in liquid cash when participating in the auction. A minimum of 100 million in liquid cash?" Hao Lei exclaimed. "Isn't it too high a threshold, Sect Master? There may be a lot of billionaires out there, but what you're asking for is the available liquid cash. Also, do we have so many good things to auction? You don't need to be concerned about the articles for the auction. You'll know when you come to Star City," replied Tang Xiu. Hao Lei knew Tang Xiu well. He never did anything that he wasn't able to handle, so she said, "I'll rush over to Star City right away, Sect Master. I'll have the announcement enter the news on the road. I promise those filthy rich all over the world will learn about this unprecedented grand auction." "That's right, any other requirement with the funds pertaining to the publicity?" "I'll give 1 billion for it," said Tang Xiu. Hao Lei's breathing turned rough and she replied in a deep voice, 1 billion yuan is enough, Sect Master." Tang Xiu then hung up and left the bed to take a shower. Just as he came to the living room on the first floor, he saw Kongxia nesting on the sofa while reading documents, with the fragrance of dishes fluttering from the kitchen. To his surprise, when he set his sight on the kitchen, it wasn't the housekeeper who did the cooking but Andy, who was wearing an apron while humming some Pong songs. "Hey, what's up here?" Tang Xiu went to Kongxia's front and asked with a look of surprise. A strange smile appeared on the corner of Kongxia's mouth as she replied, "It's nothing. I just admonished Andy last night but it didn't turn out well, so I told her that if she really wants to be your woman, she needs to be great both in drilling and cooking. She won't have a problem with the former since she has been traveling with me literally everywhere in the past few years, so her experience on that one is remarkable enough with tons of insight in which she can be independent on that one. But as for the kitchen..." Tang Xiu blinked with understanding but asked with a strange expression, "She doesn't know how to cook or what?"
Ah.
"I'm not 100% sure about that either." Kongxia laughed and said, "In any case, I've never seen her cook." Tang Xiu felt rather relieved inwardly and a beaming smile appeared on his handsome face, raising a thumbs up and praising her. "That was a great idea. I'm sure she'll be able to give it up as long as she doesn't know how to cook." "Well, Kongxia, find some outstanding talents for her too. I'm sure someone she likes will appear." The smile on Kongxia's face turned more evident, but she didn't reply to Tang Xiu. Instead, she shot her pretty eyes to the kitchen as though she had already smelled the fragrance of the dishes. Suddenly, Tang An appeared out of the blue. She didn't even glance at Kongxia but cupped her fists and directly spoke to Tang Xiu, "Long Hanwen is here, Grand Master." Tang Xiu nodded in response and came out of the living room hall. Just as he came out, he saw Long Hanwen coming out from the car with looming killing intent on his solemn face. "Uncle Long." Long Hanwen nodded to him in response and said, "There's something I must discuss with you, Tang Xiu." "Let's head inside," said Tang Xiu. Quickly after, both men came to the study on the second floor. When they just took a seat, Kong Xia entered with a tray of fragrant tea and served them. She then left the room and closed the door. Long Hanwen took back his gaze from the door and sighed in praise. "You're really blessed. Kong Xia is such a great woman. Surely you wouldn't come over just to praise Kong Xia." Tang Xiu smiled slightly. The old man's expression turned solemn and he looked at Tang Xiu, inquisitively asking, "I just want to know, how do you plan to deal with this UDS Harbo group?" "Well, Kong Xia has informed those from the UDS Harbo group that the magnificent Tang Corporation will never do business with them," said Tang Xiu. "Just that?" Long Hanwen frowned. "What do you think then, Uncle Long?" asked Tang Xiu back with a meaningful tone and expression. Long Hanwen was reticent for half a minute and then spoke with a bit of killing intent contained in his tone. "I want the ones responsible for injuring Zheng Yu to be punished. I may have sent someone to beat him up and maim him. That guy is still in custody, but there are others who instigated him, borrowing his hand to beat someone else. I can never swallow my anger if I don't make them pay some price." "So the reason you haven't targeted these instigators yet is that you're wary of the magnificent Tang Corporation, then?" asked Tang Xiu. "That's correct," said Long Hanwen directly. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and his expression turned serious. Then, he solemnly spoke, "Uncle Long, I accept your kindness. This issue is far from over since the other party severely injured Long Zhengyu right in our turf. However, we can't just exact revenge and retaliate openly, as I need to maintain the reputation of the magnificent Tang Corporation as well." "Then, what plans you have in mind?" asked Long Hanwen. "There are too many companies all over the world that want to cooperate with my company. Even 17 of them come from the US, said Tang Xiu with a sneer. These 17 companies may look to be harmonious on the surface, but they are fighting in the back. Kong Xia herself has sorted out the portfolios and information on these 17 companies and gave them to me, so I know that the Harbo Group has secretly been having some disputes and clashes with 3 other companies and apparently, they always have the upper hand. If these 3 companies can join hands to deal with the Harbo Group, I believe this company will face quite some hard times. And I can guarantee the people from this company, especially those instigators, will find it impossible to leave Star City and China unharmed."